Hello, Eric.
Hello. Oh my God. You know what? I am so sorry. Again, you fooled me. I thought this was the cult-worthy podcast with Antonio, and now I don't even know what we're doing here. What are we doing?
Of course. Well, yeah, of course. We're doing the best Shirley Temple movies of the 1930s.
Oh
No,
wow.
no, that would be interesting. We're
Okay. I'm
doing
just gonna turn it off then.
just her years as a UN ambassador. Like that's all we're doing, and then we're gonna move on to Audrey Hepburn.
Cool.
Um, no, so yeah, physical media. You have been sending me a bunch of stuff that I love. that so like I've kind of said before, I used to be like, oh, I'm going to collect the mainstream regular stuff. And then now being on the making Tarantino stuff and just being exposed to more things, now I'm like, oh, well, I got to own Don't Go in the House. I have to own, or whatever. And then like you sent me The Howling 2 and 3 and, Program to Kill and, what's that Target movie? The Double Target and like
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, like those are cool. And that they all are packed with stuff. And then, like you said, Indicator is like a great label. And on Indicator, like it's got a whole bunch of shit, like all this added stuff that you can't find anywhere. Like Criterion had, I know, I was looking at, I know, we're just free flowing here,
I'm already
but
lost.
I know. But on Criterion, I looked up like a DVD of something, and that'll have stuff on that wasn't ported over to the Blu-ray.
Right.
So now
Yeah.
it's like, oh, like Charade had like Stanley Donen films, like trailers for them or something.
Yeah.
The Blu-ray doesn't have that for Charade. So it's
Yeah.
like, okay, so that's kind of, but then you get the better movie. But like I've said on some of these DVDs that I watch, they look amazing. You sent me Eastern Condors. I watch it. It looks really good. I
And that's
have the
on standard def, right?
Yeah, and I have the Bud Bedecker DVDs, and
Yeah.
those look amazing. And I'm like, how much better are they going to look in 4K? Like it's going to be crazy.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's the conundrum with collecting today. And your example of that you've mentioned on your show a few times where you are a bit, we were both all big fans of The Adventures of Ford Fairlane with Andrew Dice Clay.
yeah,
And I have the Blu-ray of that. And you said you were going to buy it and you bought the regular DVD. And I was like, you dolt. Like, there's
yeah,
a Blu-ray. It's cheap. You can get it. And
yeah.
you said, well, this one has audio commentary. And I go immediately, I go into my video library where I'm at right now. And I go to the shelf and I pull it out. And I was like, son of a bitch, this fucking thing doesn't have the audio commentary, but Phil has the goddamn audio commentary now.
Yeah,
So that's one
that's
of those things where you like, if I'd known that, I probably would have held on to the DVD. So, because that's part of like being an archivist or being a collector is you want all that stuff, and when it doesn't port over, like you said, it disappoints you, and you as a collector, you have that OCD of missing out, the FOMO.
or even like something like so I had the Criterion of The Killer and Hard Boiled. I bought those DVD. I was like, wow, these are great, full of stuff, got a whole essay, like everything. And then I was like, I had to sell all my movies at one point to make rent. So sold all my movies, gave them to a used place that was like, I said, here, I want to get them all for cash. And they go, okay. And they're going through my box and they're going, you got some good shit here. I go, don't fucking tell me that. Like I'm
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
rid of all this.
yeah.
And so then they gave me money and that was in there. And now when you go to like a used place like that, it's locked up in glass and they're like $150 for this or whatever. And you're like, holy shit. And same thing with the other day before I went to the used place, I'm looking on Criterion at certain things and The Rock pops up. And I used to have The Rock on DVD, Criterion. And it's got audio commentary. And the thing I learned from Michael Bay was filming that chase. He just put the camera on the floorboard and just had them move and flash lights around. It looks like he's in the Ferrari chasing,
Sure.
it's really
Yeah.
cool. So it was like out of print for the DVD. There was never been a Blu-ray or whatever for Criterion. So I'm like, oh shit. So the other day I'm at the place, the used place called Zia Record Exchange, and I find it. And it's like $10 Criterion. And I'm like, oh, I should get this because it's out of print. But then I go, am I going to put on the DVD, because this is also our conversation, or am I just going to find a streaming somewhere and be like, let me watch The Rock? I'm not going to really
Yeah.
watch all the added stuff, but it would be good to have, especially if it's out of print and it's hard to find.
Yeah.
And you had one, I don't mean to call you out on this, but Wong Kar-wai, like there's certain things that you're like, no, I'm going to pay fucking money if I want it
Yeah.
this certain way.
Yeah. So one of my favorite film directors is Wong Kar-wai, and so I collect his stuff, obviously. And Criterion brought out a big box set of all of his films, not every one of them, but most of them that they
Mm,
had acquired. And one of those in there is Fallen Angels, which is a sequel to Chungking Express, right?
mhm.
And that's one of my favorite ones. I love that one almost as much as Chungking. And so when I popped it in, I guess for some reason, he decided to make the aspect ratio 2:3:5 instead of 1:8:5, which is when it was shot. And there's some explanation on there about how he wanted to do it this way originally, but at the time, there's, I don't know, some bullshit answer. It was total bullshit.
Yeah.
And so he stretched the image to
Mhm.
fit the 2:3:5, and it just doesn't look the way that I remember seeing it or experiencing it. And so yeah, that's kind of like irritated me. And I didn't have a Blu-ray of it, I don't think, but Kino Lorber put out one a while back before the Criterion came out, and it's in the right aspect ratio, and it is out of print. And I paid, I don't know, 100 and something bucks just to get that Blu-ray because that's the version that I want, and the color
Yeah.
is correct. They retimed the color, and it doesn't look the same way that I experienced it.
Yeah.
And so now I have both versions. And I'm never going to watch that Criterion version ever again. I'm going to put the Kino
Yeah.
in because that's the
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
the movie should be seen. I'm sorry to one of my favorite directors who I respect, but you fucked up, Junior.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that reminds me of talking about like some bullshit stories. Remember on DVD, they came out with the special edition Star Wars trilogy and the special edition the original.
Yeah,
And so you could get it either way. And so it was like cool. So somebody had bought it and somebody had complained online that the sound is off when they go to drop into the trench, like this, like the soundtrack is lower.
yeah,
And they were like, no, no, that's how it was meant. That's what George wanted. That's how we do it. And then somebody went and flipped it to the French and the sound kicks up. And
mm,
you're like, okay, that's bullshit because the French is the same one. All the other ones are the same, but the English language one is like messed up.
yeah.
And but that's another thing where those movies you can't find unless you go look for them because, whoever has said like, no, we're scrubbing. George started, but now Disney
Yeah.
is like, yeah, we're not going to put out the original. You can only get special edition.
Yeah, and that was going in when I was in film school and college and stuff too. And so I still have my Star Wars, the original versions on laser discs,
Oh,
the
nice. I
non
used to have those. Yeah.
special editions. And what's funny, I have it up here. I don't think you can see it. It's way above my head. But
Mhm.
um, what's funny about those is that I couldn't, obviously, I was a student, so I would sell blood and CDs to get money.
Yeah.
But I was also trying to acquire laser discs at that time. And so for some reason, I was in Half Price Books and I found that huge box set. I mean, the thing's massive.
Yeah.
And I found it used and I picked it up there and spent
Wow.
some money on it. And I still have it. It's all the covers all ripped to shreds. It's all messed up, but I don't
Yeah.
care. Like
Yeah.
you said, that's the best representation we have of these original
Yeah.
versions.
It's how we remember them. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
It's,
still have the special editions too. Those are fine, but I do want to have some sort of archival record of those original versions.
yeah. Yeah. There's something about like, something that I have here, but I was going to ask you first. Um, do you remember what the first thing was that you collected? Like the first movie, like,
Yeah. So this is, I mean, my dad had a series of 8 millimeter films that he would project on the wall for me
mhm,
before the days of for the days of VHS, and I still have those over here. I should have pulled one out, but I didn't.
cool.
Um, but it had like Laurel and Hardy and Frankenstein and The Wolfman and Tarantula and all the great
Cool.
B movies and W.C. Fields and all those great old comedies, Silence and stuff. But
Cool.
then when collecting hit me was VHS, probably about 1984-ish, somewhere in
Hmm.
there, 83, 84.
Yeah.
We got a VCR, and my dad said, "Did you know that you can copy with two VCRs, you can copy a tape?" And I was like, "What? What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "Well, let's go do it." So we went to this store called Federated Video Electronics or something. I think that's what it's called, Federated Electronics, and you could rent a second VCR because VCRs were like
Ye-
$1,000 or something at the time, or
Yeah.
$500 or something. So you could rent one, and so we rented one, and I remember we rented Nightmare on Elm Street, and keep in mind I'm only like 11.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So we rented Nightmare on Elm Street. I think Police Academy was in there. Uh, I'm trying to remember what else, but those were like the first things. And so then I started like keeping a log. Like you could fit three movies on a tape,
Yeah.
sometimes four if they were like 90 minutes or something.
Yeah.
And so I would keep like a collection. And then, I mean, eventually that was going on all through college. And then eventually I would transfer laser discs to VHS.
Yeah.
And because that was the only way, because,
That
laser
was
discs were
that was the
expensive.
and that was the best because they were widescreen. I talked about it
Yeah,
with Jennifer, and Jennifer talked about how she would have two tape decks and she would record two VHSs and she'd record something else.
right.
And it was the same thing when Pulp Fiction came out. I was working at Suncoast Motion Picture Company, and the Japanese Laserdisc came out first. And so I was like, "Oh shit, I should get this." And it was only dubbed in Japanese, but you could whatever it was, you could watch. It was subtitled in Japanese, so you could still see it, and it was the American dialogue.
Yeah,
So I was like, "Oh, that's cool." So, and I was also working at a video store, mom and pop video store, that the guy had bought the Japanese Laserdisc. So I put that in, recorded it while I'm at work, and then I would give it to my friend. Like, here, you want to watch it? And
yeah,
they'd go over there and we'd watch Pulp Fiction. And yeah, and I didn't get into it until like collecting until like 89 or whatever. Like Last Crusade came out and my buddy was like, "Oh, I bought the tape." And I'm like, "I want to get a tape." He was like, "I got a Montgomery Ward's, credit card." And I'm like, "Oh, wow." So,
Well,
same.
yeah, I mean it's one of those things where like when Laserdisc came out, like you said, it was cool to get the widescreen transfer and the better quality, even though you're bumping it back down to VHS.
Yeah.
But still you're getting to see it the correct way that the director intended you to see it. And then,
Yeah.
you could also record the audio commentaries on the tape if you wanted to too, to have that,
Yeah.
and for me that was invaluable as a learning tool, as a filmmaker to be able to figure out what lens was used for this or that. And you were talking about all those different shops. I mentioned Wong Kar-wai earlier, but I was huge into Hong Kong cinema.
Mm.
And when I went to school at UT Arlington, there was a big Asian population, so they also had Asian video stores there. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I would rent tapes and laser discs that you're never going to get
Yeah.
unless you live in China or Hong Kong. And so what I would do, I would take the laser discs, and you can see this is like Angel Terminator. I don't know if it'll focus on that or not,
Oh, there we
but
go. Yeah.
that's how I would like put my laser discs on tapes, and then I
Wow.
would make the little labels on the computer.
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of one way I would start to collect my Hong Kong movie collection. And then I had something that nobody else had,
Yeah.
and I still have a stack of VHS tapes here that have never ever been transferred to DVD even, you know.
Wow. Yeah, well, and then that's the other thing of I remember talking about that though too. Laserdisc, they came out with the game special super duper edition, and I'm like, oh my God. Like it was double disc, like it was a whole thing, the David
Yeah.
Fincher. And then I was like, when is that coming out? And it took years until finally they released it. And it was like, oh, okay, now Criterion was like, here you go, we're going to release it. And it's that thing of we used to have a Korean place that, well, what was funny, first of all, because I'm an idiot. I went to the Chinese buffet one time and I'm like, hey, where do you rent your movies? And I asked the Chinese guy, where do you rent your movies? And he's like, Blockbuster. And I'm like, oh, I'm fucking idiot and I'm racist. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, okay, no problem. I get it.
Well, I even went as far as to take Mandarin when I was in college, and so I would try like an idiot to go into the video stores and speak Chinese
Yeah.
Mandarin to the clerk there, and then they would look at me and be like, "Bless your heart."
Yeah. Well, that's like they say if you go to France, like the waiter will be like, "Don't fucking I speak
Oh
English.
yeah,
Don't even
yeah,
try to butcher our language. Just talk to
yeah.
me normal."
I did that in France once. I was there, and I was in like a Gap type of store, and I really wanted. I was by myself,
Yeah.
and I wanted to ask somebody like how much these pants were, and I tried to do something in French to the clerk, and she just looked at me, and goes, "Oh," and then just walked off.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Um, so yeah, so now we're on to like I just noticed this the other day. This is what's good about this physical media thing that we're doing on Patreon is so I have the 4K of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and I have the Blu-ray of it, and it's the 30th anniversary. And so it comes in this big giant like box set,
Yeah,
and
we were talking off the air. I had that too. I don't know what I did with it.
in it is like, and look how like I haven't even fucking read the book. It's still tight as shit.
Yeah,
And um and it's got like really cool stuff in it that, you know, I mean, you could find these online, find these pictures, but it's like behind the scenes stuff. It's, everything. It's got three versions of the film
hmm,
and all that stuff. And it is, what's the thing I'm looking for? Um, so it's got that. And then also, though, it has this, like the box for it. It's got this thing that is like, it folds out and it tells you which each version where it jumps to a new scene or whatever. So you
yeah,
can follow it, which is really cool. And that unfolds. And then on the other side is a poster. And then it's got like these two discs.
right.
So it's way cool. And then recently, because I bought a 4K player, I have the 4K of it, and that's just like a regular, it's got no insert in it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
got, digital and or Ultra HD and Blu-ray. And so it's like, okay, and it's got a lot of the same stuff, but some stuff is probably that is missing out on this 4K because
yeah.
either
Well,
like we've said that they either don't have the rights or whatever. But
yeah, well, that's like the Back to the Fallen Angels thing. The Kino has interviews and things that the Criterion does not have, and vice versa.
oh wow,
So,
yeah,
it's an advantage to hold on to both if you're a fan or a student of a certain filmmaker.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, and then our friend, I talked to Jennifer about this, but our friend Craig shared us those making of movie things. So there was
Oh, yeah.
52 Pickup and Runaway Train that you don't see anymore.
Yeah.
And in fact, today Craig shared with me a Hudson Hawk thing that I had never seen the music video of the Dr. John song. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, so that was cool to see, where something that you normally wouldn't look for or wouldn't see. And some deleted scenes that I saw that I hadn't seen before, but I need to get the Blu-ray. It's supposed to be good. But yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's like Hudson Hawk, physical media. Hey, it's collecting. And then yesterday, I was at the store and I bought Cinema Paradiso. I was like, I heard this is great. I'm gonna get it. It was special edition. It was like used, so it was like $14, and it had has all this stuff on the back, like audio commentary and
Has both versions of
deleted
the
scenes,
film.
has both versions, like everything. And I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. And so I have that, and then also on there I bought like four. It was a Warner Brothers Urban Action Collection, and it's four black exploitation films. And I'm like,
Right.
okay, like I've only seen Black Belt Jones. I haven't seen the others, so that's going to be fun. Where, as you would say though, I did that with Jackie Chan. You got mad at me, but these are like four movies on two discs. My Jackie Chan is like eight movies on four disc. And it's like, and you're like, dude, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
all compressed and, whatever. but at least I can watch them. And then if I really like them, I could probably find a super duper special edition, or maybe they're only out. Sometimes it's only
Yeah,
available on that group on a
I
box of
think
four, you know.
I think Warner Archive announced Three the Hard Way is coming out on Blu-ray, like
Hmm.
remastered.
Yeah, that looks cool. Yeah, that one, all three of those guys, or four, anyway. But what? So let me see. Oh, and then you put your discs in like by genre.
Yeah, if you can see behind me, so I try to organize stuff by genre. So I put sci-fi and horror in one section,
Hmm.
drama and thriller in the middle, and then I have action, and then I also try to have subcategories. So I have a pretty big Charles Bronson fetish, so I have like a separate Bronson section, then I have a
Hmm.
Hong Kong section, then I have a general overall foreign film section with everything other than Hong Kong movies. So that would include Japan, French, Russian, anything else. All goes into the one
Yeah,
batch.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of how I do it.
And that makes a little more sense when, like me and Rob were saying, you would go, well, is this an action or a thriller? Is this a what? But being as they're kind of together, you're like, okay, drama, thrillers, all that.
Yeah.
Sci-fi, if you think about From Dusk Till Dawn, that's going to be in, horror, right? Or
Yeah.
action. See, that's my thing. Like
Yeah,
action, but it's a
that would be
horror movie.
horror. Yeah.
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 So, and then Close Encounters, is that sci-fi or is that drama?
That's sci-fi.
That's what I thought. So, but then there's things that recently that I've been talking about, like, so I'm making a list. I'm house sitting for my friend, and I'm making this list of movies that I want to buy that I always go, well, I've seen them. Am I going to watch it over and over again? That's always my fallback. And I need to get out of that fallback because Detour is a really great movie. It's only like 89, 86 minutes, really short, 82 maybe. 82 minutes, really good, but you should own it because you should,
Yeah.
have the own these movies that mean something for one to you, but for two for like it's like the Library of Congress when they're like, oh, this is aesthetically and historically it's going to
Yeah.
go in the collection, and you're like, yeah, that should be. And like I explained already before, but my cousin was like, a movie collection should define somebody as a person. Like, so you could look at your collection and be like, oh, I totally get who Eric is. I
Yeah.
look at mine and it used to be like just whatever, like all the I
Yeah,
finally
we're
got
calling the
rid of the
police
Pirates
type
of the
thing. Yeah.
Caribbean, like I had all the Man of Steel, like all those. Um, so
Well,
now
that's
I'm getting it down to what I want, like my where I realize like, oh, I was gonna buy all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Like, oh yeah, those were fun, and then I'm like, but
yeah.
why do I need those? Like those
Yeah, and
that
see
brings me
like
back
that
to.
your collection should be your collection. My
Mhm.
collection should be my collection. Like I have 0.0 interest in Pirates of the Caribbean or
Yeah,
Caribbean, however you
yeah,
say it. I don't care for pirate movies. I don't
yeah,
care about pirates, and
yeah.
I especially don't care about big budget extravaganzas, so that's not
Yeah,
really of interest to me. So, and as you get older, you start to realize like, oh, well, I get caught up in the hype of I
yeah,
gotta have this, and then you have to really like think like, okay, am I gonna ever watch this again? If the answer is no, don't get it.
right.
Is there something that, I'm going to use from this disc? Is the information on it something that I can,
You broaden
compile and use
my,
on a project or something that I'm writing or something like that? And that's why I collect stuff. I mean,
yeah.
there are movies like Dawn of the Dead here that, I
Oh,
absolutely, that's my all-time
beautiful.
favorite movie probably. And so
Yeah,
it's the second sight box and, you spend a pretty penny for it, but it has everything in it. And so, that's a movie that, I'm going to get a lot out of for eternity until I drop dead.
yeah,
It has every single version, every single bonus thing in it. And so, a movie like that, that's something that I'm going to cherish. And so I have to have that in my collection. But then there are other things that I have. Like recently, I started getting into the Columbia Noir series from Indicator.
yeah,
And I think this is the fifth one for the Whistler. I didn't know that there were Whistler movies. I knew about the radio show,
yeah.
and so when Michael Price, a guy that I grew up, he's a film reviewer, told me about it, I was like, oh, I really got to get into this. And so then I started looking into the other indicator, noir series, and then they have a Universal Noir, volume. And
Yeah.
so now, like, noir was kind of a somewhat of a blind spot for me.
Yeah.
But now with these, they have like, 5 or 6 films in each set. And the
Yeah.
bonus stuff is just incredible. Like, if you can't, the fine print is so crazy, you can't even like get through all of
Yeah.
the
But
stuff that
yeah.
that's in there. And so for me, this becomes like an archive, a film archive in my hand, right?
Yeah.
And so I can like now I can fill that blind spot with all this additional information. There's 2 versions of this and 5 versions of the Colombian Noir.
Yeah.
So, that's how I collect stuff. Am I gonna learn from it? Yeah, I might get through a set and say I don't like this. Then I'll give it to you or I'll resell it and get something else.
Yeah, that's where it's funny with those two. Indicator, you flip, if anybody hasn't got an Indicator movie, you buy it, it's the distribution company. It's the whatever, the what do you call it? The label.
Yeah.
You flip it over, it doesn't tell you what the movie's about. It's all full of special
Yeah.
features
It's
and
just
it's
paragraphs
amazing.
of
You're just
special
like,
features.
holy shit. But something like that too, where you've sent me stuff where you're like, I've seen it. I don't need to see it again. Here you go. You can have it. And I'm like, okay. And then I watch it, and like with the Assassination Bureau, I was like, that was good. And I watched all the special stuff on it, learned all about it, and then was like, okay, I'm going to give it to Sam. And then I send it to my friend Sam, who was like, oh my God, thank you. And then though, you send me stuff where you're like, I didn't much care for Double Target, and I was like, but I liked it. Like it was fun. Like I'm gonna keep it. Like
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah. I
and
mean,
yeah,
yeah. Well, that was
and
like Turkey Shoot.
yeah,
Like I love that movie. I discovered it. I don't remember how I discovered it, but somehow I discovered it, and it's become like a film that I'll watch every once in a while just because I think it's just insane.
yeah,
And so I told you about it. And I don't know if you cared that much about it as much as I did, but I have to own that because I need to expose other people to its scent,
yeah,
so to
yeah,
speak.
yeah. No, I cared for it, but I could get where it's almost special. It's the only way I can explain it is like that I've explained before on my other show, but when Thriller came out, the album, the Michael Jackson album, and my buddy had an LP and he was like, hey, I have the Thriller album. And I was like, oh, could I get a copy of that? Because I didn't have money to go buy the album. And he was like, sure. So I brought him a tape and he recorded it for me. And then I could go home and listen to that and be like, oh, wow, look, I have the tape. And that kind of memory, in a way, is like, oh, I remember that. Or you and I talked about in general about physical media collecting, kind of, is me recording Dr. Demento from the radio and then listening to things that like nobody else had heard. Oh, I haven't heard Rapping Duke and I haven't heard Wet Dream by Kippadada.
Yeah.
And then your thing was like recording Howard Stern, that you have all this accumulated stuff that now is behind a paywall or whatever, that like, oh, well, I have this.
Hmm.
And some things that you find on YouTube that are like, oh, it's a cool Johnny Carson interview or whatever.
Yeah.
But um
Well, and
but it
I also love discovering things that I didn't know about. Like, I mean, a good example is this that just came in yesterday from
mhm.
Eureka was the Dr. Mabuse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you kind of informed me about what that was, and so I was like, oh, okay, so this is a whole series of movies that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
started with Fritz Lang, a trilogy that I didn't know about that, and so I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm instantly interested and I want to learn. And so, being a constant student, I was like, yeah, let's check that out.
Yeah. That's well, and then that's the other thing of yeah, that's where I still haven't finished there. Fritz Lang, I saw the Testament of Dr. Mabuse thinking that was the first one. And then
That's
it's
the
like, oh
second one,
no,
right?
there was another one called The Gambler, and you're like, oh shit. So I'm in the middle of that. That's a 4 hour, I can't believe a 4 hour movie in the silent time that you would go and sit for 4 hours and watch this. But then
And
that
not pick up your phone. Oh,
but
wait a minute.
then yeah, but then that they came to him after in the 60s, or when not the 60s, whenever that first one came out
I
on
think it
that
was
set.
1960, yeah.
And they said, "Do you want to do Dr. Mabuse again?" Another one. And he was like, "Okay." And he did. And then they have all these other directors. So part of me was like, well, I don't know. I like Fritz Lang. I don't know how good it's going to be. If it's going to be as good as The Testament or even The Gambler's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting
And
that he did
then,
the two silent ones, and
yeah,
then there's a 40-year gap before he
yeah,
comes back to complete the trilogy in the 60, and then they just keep making sequels without
yeah,
him.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's kind of interesting. So I definitely had to order the other two that I haven't got yet, but so
I'm going to definitely order those. Well, and then I found one just on a side note on YouTube for The Gambler that was, I started to watch it and there's no music to it. And I'm like,
hmm.
oh, this is annoying. And so then now I found one that has music and it's done good, but done well, done good. Anyway.
I believe
And,
Eureka puts out the two silent ones too,
oh,
but
okay.
they're
I'll have
not
to,
in the box. The
mhm.
box is only the 1960 through 64, it says. So
Yeah,
it's the trilogy capper by Fritz Lang, and then
yeah.
it's the return and yeah, the rest of them.
Yeah, I
So
need to, yeah, definitely get those. But it's also the thing of where am I going from here? Let me go back to my questions. Do
ask me
you
some questions.
do you yeah, do you specifically collect certain movies or is it just whatever, you know?
Um, yeah, like I'll look and see what's coming out. I definitely have things that, I'm interested in that are kind of what I like to call, uh, you know, not really like I want to collect things that, like we said before, that I want to learn from and that have some sort of value other than just the movie. Because if the movie's just a movie, then yeah, just get it on streaming. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah,
the
it's
whole reason I collect stuff is for the other things.
yeah.
So I'm sure that I could watch Alien or Alien franchise in 4K on Apple TV in 4K, and it's going to look a lot better than this box set, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's the
Yeah,
Blu-ray
that's the
box
one I
set.
have. Yeah.
Yeah, but this Blu-ray box set is absolutely like the definitive thing. If you want to learn about making films and
Yeah.
how a franchise works, how a studio thinks, how a filmmaker thinks, how actors think. The bonus stuff on all four of the first four Alien movies on that box set are incredible. The documentaries, like the
Yeah.
documentary on Alien 3, a movie that nobody
Hmm.
really likes, is
Hmm.
literally like 4.5 hours long,
Yeah.
and it is extensive. And there are people talking about decisions that were made from higher ups and this that you never hear about on any other documentary, just inside information.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of stuff I like to have. It's not, it goes beyond the movie basically.
Yeah, the thing with that too, I like the assembly cut better than the other cut because it makes more sense and it's
Yeah.
cool and they cut out the scene of her holding her belly and holding the thing in and all that is just great. But yeah, that documentary is great. It's cool where you're like, why isn't David Fincher on here talking? But they kind of say like, yeah, he kind of got screwed and was, everybody else making the moves. Takes a lot of people to make a movie and you got to answer to whoever. And yeah, that's a great set. I have the Columbia, not Columbia, sorry, Universal. I have the Universal set of all the monster movies.
Oh,
So
excellent.
it's got all of them, and in there is all the Abbott and Costellos, all the Invisible Man's, all the Mummy, all the Dracula. Really cool. And then the other day, I found yesterday. I found the 4K of like somebody had traded those in a 4K of Dracula, Wolfman, like all the, and I was like, oh,
Hmm.
I should get those. But then I'm like, but what if something's missing out of this? What if they took something out of
Yeah.
this? You know, where sometimes I got lucky when I had heard Towering Inferno was good, so I'm at the used place and I grabbed Towering Inferno on DVD and it's like MGM special edition. I think it's MGM. And I flip it over and I'm like, oh, cool. And there was a choice between two. And I didn't like the one cover seemed a little wrinkly. So I got the other one. When I got it home and opened it, it had a booklet inside, but also jammed into, it was in a cardboard sleeve. In the cardboard sleeve was another booklet and then when you open up inside, it had mini lobby cards, like all this cool shit. And I'm like, oh my God, like, and it was $7 because somebody, and luckily they got rid of they gave everything to it.
Oh wow.
So it's the same thing like when you showed on your Cinema Force Instagram of the Searcher's 50th anniversary of DVD, and you were like, "Oh, look, here's all the stuff in it." And I'm like, "That's cool." And I go on eBay and I find one for $10, and the seller writes me and goes, "Well, I don't have that original disc that came with it. I only have the little flapper box, the little clip,
Mm,
the old school Warner Brothers ones." And he goes, "This is all I have." And I go, "That's fine. I don't want that. I don't care about
yeah.
that. I
Yeah,
have the
yeah.
movie on 4K now.
Yeah.
But all I want is this added stuff." So it's
Right.
really cool. And then just talk about collecting in general. I got the Condor Man like book, like the book, now a major motion picture.
Yeah.
And it's like 125 pages. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read
Yeah.
it. I don't know if they added
Yeah.
anything to it, but it's good for the collection.
And that's, that kind of stuff is important to you because that movie means something to you.
Yeah.
And so that's something you want to keep. I don't get too hung up on the box sets that have all the posters and the cards and drink
Mhm.
coasters and all that stuff. That
Right.
stuff doesn't mean that much to me because
Right.
I'm more about the movie itself. Like,
Yeah.
what are you going to give me in addition to the movie that I can't get on a streaming platform?
Yeah.
Like we said with Alien or something like that. So, but yeah, it is crazy how much the age that we live in right now of how much stuff is being cranked out for
Yeah.
us to consume. And, you really have to start to draw a line in your mind of that's cool, doesn't mean anything to me, pass,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that it's that daily struggle of that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. Okay. I can't.
I told Jennifer, I finally drew a line in the sand and said, these Netflix movies come out and they go, "Oh, that trailer looks cool. Jamie Foxx and, Cameron Diaz. Like, that'll be fun." And then I go, "No, it's going to be empty entertainment."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "No." And the wife's not begging me, like, "Let's watch it. We're fine." And it's the thing of where I look at some other things that I should add to my collection are a friend of mine lent me, she was big into this Andy Griffith thing. And so she's like, "You should see Pray for the Wildcats." So she gave me the DVD. I watch it and I'm like, this is a 1974 TV movie that's probably better than any other thing that's been on Netflix that Netflix is producing, a direct to Netflix thing. And you're like, oh my God, like if they put out movies now that were just like these TV movies, like you look at Salem's Lot, that was a TV miniseries, and it's fucking amazing. And every time I think about it, I think of the thing in the kitchen where the black, he just
Yeah.
appears, and it's like, oh my God, so great.
Yeah, and also too, like I'll point out this Shaw scope set,
Hmm.
which
Yeah,
I'm sure many people have seen,
yeah,
but there are three of these now. They're quite big, they're quite extensive, and I'm not even going to
yeah,
open all of
yeah.
it,
A
but they're
booklet and
huge
everything. Yeah,
booklet and 1,000 movies in here, how many are in there? But the cool thing about that is
I think there's 14 in the third one.
in the
Yeah,
13, okay, and there's three of them now. So like, we're at an, I'm 52, you're 53, right?
yeah,
So we're at an age where we didn't get to see these theatrically.
yeah,
They had passed us by more or less just because we were young or they came out before we were even around. And so to be able to have those three volumes of things with all the extras and stuff, and it almost invites you into a world that it's like a time machine. It's like visiting the past. Like I wasn't around for this, but I would have liked to been, and
yeah,
now I can be.
yeah,
And so it's really great to crack one of those open and be like, oh, what's this? And then that leads to something else. And then that leads to something else. And then, it goes around and around. But that's the cool thing. And on streaming, I don't think you get that. You watch something, you ingest it, you
yeah,
dispose of it, it's gone, and then you're flooded with a screen of other things.
yeah, yeah,
Whereas in this, like I have to focus on it. Okay, this came out this year, and then this led to this sequel, and this guy did this, and this guy did that, and that's interesting. And so, that's what's great about collecting physical media for me is like owning a piece of history. And as someone who is lucky enough to actually run a real archive, the Bobby Wygant archive,
yeah.
I really like value this stuff now more than I ever had because I was kind of out of collecting for, I'd
Hmm.
say probably 10 years or so. And
Oh
then
wow.
well, I mean, as far as like
Like full
physical
on, like
stuff,
full bore. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But, working with Bobby's archive and whatnot and realizing how important it was to keep a physical archive of something,
Yeah.
these box sets allow you to do that.
Yeah, it's well, and then that reminded me of on your Shawscope thing, where I'm watching Shawscope. So back in the day when you were doing actually going and taking Mandarin classes and all this, I was getting into John Woo when I first saw The Killer, and I was like, oh my God, Chip, like this is amazing. And then after that, then I got Hard Boiled, and then Hard Target came out, blah blah blah. And so I'm like, so I'm watching these movies, and then all of a sudden I'm watching Shawscope, and a guy shows up, and I'm like, why does this guy look familiar? Holy shit, he's the guy that's his buddy in The Killer or Hard Boiled, one of those, not his
Yeah.
buddy in Hard Boiled, but you know what I mean. I'm like, oh shit, like that's that guy. And
Yeah.
you're like, and he was a main guy in Shawscope. Like he was one of those famous, you saw him walking down the street. Oh my
Yeah.
God, it's,
Well, I think, as Americans, we forget, we do think that, like a lot of countries, everything kind of revolves around that. But in France, there's a French film industry and a
yeah.
French films that we've never heard of. There's a French Hollywood type of thing. Same thing that's in Hong Kong,
Well,
in other places. And so when you get into these box sets and other foreign territories and stuff, you get really interested. You're like, oh wow, I didn't know that this world exists. Like this is like a whole other land to discover.
Well, and also where it kicks you off, a movie will kick you down a rabbit hole of like, for instance, I just watched Cinema Paradiso. In there, they show this silent comedian, not silent comedian, but he made these faces, reminding me of a Buster Keaton type. And it's an Italian guy, and you're like, oh, this guy was as famous as the guy in Mexico that
Yeah.
had the big C on his chest. I forget his name, but that guy. Like, everybody somewhere, or even watching Cannibal Run, they're like, oh, they put Jackie Chan with this other guy who was like a comedian in China as well,
Yeah.
just like Jackie Chan. And I'm like, well, shit, now I want to watch all that guy's
Yeah.
movies. Now I
And
want to
mean and
watch,
yeah, and
yeah,
meanwhile, like for Cannonball Run, like they put Jackie Chan as just kind of a, excuse my French, token throw in.
yeah, yeah,
And but in reality, he's way bigger than Burt Reynolds ever was and
yeah,
ever will be.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But we don't
And
know that at that time.
that was another one where, and forgive me for being stupid, and I know you always lambaste me, or I lambaste myself because you're such a pro.
I've never
Um,
done that in my life.
but no, but it's whenever I mention Jackie Chan, I know that you're just in the back of your head going, "You have no idea. I read the book, um, and I could write a book." Um, but Jackie Chan, so I see Cannonball Run. I love Cannonball Run. Then later, like I've said, I was late to Jackie Chan. Forgive me. I apologize to you every day, every week when we talk on the phone.
It's okay.
And so all of a sudden, Rumble in the Bronx is coming out. And I see this thing, Quentin Tarantino giving a Lifetime Achievement Award at the MTV Movie Awards. And they play this sizzle reel. And I'm like, that's fucking amazing. And then I tell my cousin, we got to go see Rumble in the Bronx. And we go see it. And we're amazed. Oh my God, he made that jump. He really did that. We have no idea. Then later on, I go, oh shit, like, wait a minute. After that, then I'm watching Battle Creek, or is that the name? The Brawl,
Battle Creek
Big
Brawl,
Brawl.
yeah.
Yeah. So then I'm watching that. And then also, then it comes to me like, oh my God, for years in my head, I always remember Cannonball Run. He kicks those two guys and rips his pants.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my God, that was Jackie Chan. Like I've been watching him since 1980, and I didn't even crack, didn't even be like, oh, I gotta, because back then you weren't like, who is that guy? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. It was cool because I got into Jackie Chan in a backwards way too. There was a show on the Discovery Channel way back in the day, and it was a British show called The Incredibly Strange Film Show.
Hmm.
And they profiled Jackie Chan and showed all these clips, probably in that same montage
Hmm.
that you saw, that all these movies that I had no idea. And so I immediately went to Blockbuster or whatever video store was around that at that time, and I found Police Force, which was actually Police Story.
Yeah.
and rented it, and I fell in love with him and just tried to find everything I could, but it was impossible. Like you'd hit a brick wall at the amount of stuff that was in,
Yeah.
North American video stores. And so that's, when I started going to like more comic conventions, I
Yeah.
noticed there'd be these video dealers, VHS tapes, and they had
Mhm.
like everything Jackie Chan was doing, and I'd just go broke basically,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they were like 15 or 3 for 20 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'd get them and you just watch them and you're just like, holy crap. And so it was cool, when you said when Rumble in the Bronx came out and people were starting to like appreciate him,
Yeah.
and then I was, a few of years ahead of that wave, and
Yeah.
I really was like I was just kind of sitting in the back
It's it's
enjoying like his getting his flowers, so to
yeah,
speak.
it's the same
Yeah.
thing with Chai and Fat, where the Corruptor comes
Oh
out and
yeah, yeah.
everybody goes, "Oh, the Corruptor is," and you're like, "Yeah, Chai and
Yeah.
Fat, like hello." But the thing with Jackie Chan too that annoyed me when they would do it is like, Chai and Fat, and they'd have his face on the cover, and then you go to rent it, and it wouldn't even he'd be like in a minor character. Same thing they did with the John Woo. Dang it, now I'm drawing a blank on the name. John Woo directed a movie that Jackie Chan was in barely toward the end he pops up and you're like okay, but they sold it as John Woo directs Jackie Chan and you're like,
Oh, was that
and then you
last hurrah for
uh
chivalry or
no,
something like
no,
that?
no,
Or
was Jackie Chan in it? No, it
can't remember.
was like Young Tigers or something Tigers.
Okay.
But anyway, and I remember I was like, oh, like I go to rent it and I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't like he just popped up at the end. But it's that same thing with and I think the guy that I'm thinking of is from Replacement Killers, back to the Shaw scope thing. It's the guy that's the his buddy. It's the guy that's the bad guy, I think, in Replacement Killers. But anyway, I
Okay.
could be wrong.
It's been a while since I've seen Replacement Killers.
Not the Das Boot guy, but the other bad guy. Anyway, and I could be wrong, so take that out. Anyway, but it is that thing of it's also the thing of just that leads you down rabbit holes or learning about film and then you want to learn more and more.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm getting better with that. Sometimes I would just watch a movie and be like, I'm just watching a movie. I don't want to go into this whole like, all this research for it. I'm just watching the movie. And the more you think about it, you're like, oh no, it's all connected. And like what you said on a separate note is it is good that now we have these certain boutique labels that are like, oh, don't go in the house. We're gonna put that out with three different versions that you can
Yeah.
watch whatever one you want. Waterworld, a movie that didn't do very well back then Arrow comes out with it and says, here's three different versions to watch. And all these movies that you would think would never get,
Yeah.
it's like Jennifer talked about Hollywood 90028 that she said I bought it and she loved it and I said I remember after I had bought the Impulse with William Shatner, I was watching on their Instagram and on Grindhouse Releasing, they're digging in a dumpster and they're like, look what we found, and they're pulling out
Yeah.
like reels of, and they go, we have the whole thing, like we're gonna put it, and you're
Hmm.
like, holy shit, like they just found this shit in the
Yeah.
dumpster, like it's
Well,
amazing.
there's tons of like I know I remember reading, I can't remember where it was, but somebody in Asia somewhere bought an old movie theater
Hmm.
and it had a stage above or below the screen.
Hmm.
And they were like, "Well, what's under the stage?" You're like, "We don't know." And so
Wow.
they went under the stage and there's all these 35 millimeter prints of Hong Kong movies
Oh,
that
I remember.
and
I think
yeah.
that guy was on cinema. What do you call it? Pure Cinema. He was
Oh,
talking to
that's right.
Quentin
Yeah.
about, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it was
Yeah.
like, holy shit. But
Yeah.
it is like, like we said, maybe Hollywood 90028 isn't that good, but somebody preserved it, and now it's
Yeah,
there. And
that's important. That's
yeah,
part of what I did with Bobby's archive too. There was tons of stuff that was not labeled. I didn't know what it was, but I paid to have it restored
yeah,
because, I want to see what's on this, and it doesn't matter how random the person is that she's interviewing. Like I found the Sharon Tate interview in one
Yeah,
of
yeah,
those unnamed
yeah. And it was
boxes,
like what,
you know.
two and a
Yeah, it's
half
like 2 or
minute.
3 minutes on
Yeah,
the set of
like
Valley of the Dolls, but still,
yeah,
that's valuable, that's part of history,
yeah,
you know.
yeah. But it's the same thing I mentioned before, but maybe not on here yet. But maybe I mentioned Jennifer. But Bat Pussy, somebody finds this little
Now we're
like
now we're doing
like
quality stuff.
yeah, exactly. And they put out, and it's a movie like kind of a porno, but kind of weird, like funny and weird. And all of a sudden, it's just like, hey, we found this, and found it in
Yeah.
the theater somewhere. Nobody knows who the people are that are in it.
Yeah.
Nobody knows anything about how it
Yeah.
was made, but they just know it, and that's it. And it's crazy.
Well,
Um,
I'll throw in one story of something that I discovered, and that is,
hang on 1 minute.
oh, okay,
All right, we're back.
we're
Um,
back. We had
yeah,
technical difficulties, and it's
that's
probably
right.
my fault.
That's right.
Um, so yeah, one of the things we were talking about was being able to use physical media to explore other countries and films and stuff like that. And so Bobby Wygant, who I worked for a long time, she was a film critic for our local NBC station here, Channel 5. She introduced me to someone named Jacques Tati, who at the time I didn't know anything about. But
Mhm.
the Texas Theater here had a Jacques Tati Film Fest where they showed all of his movies. And so we went. We were probably the only ones in the theater. I didn't know what to expect, but I
Yeah,
was pleasantly surprised. And oh, hold on, I got a jet coming over because
yeah.
I live in Vietnam.
It's all right.
Um, but anyway, so Jacques Tati, we went and saw it, and this is the Criterion box set that you can pick up.
Wow.
Really
Yeah.
pretty. It's got all his films. He only made really, one, two, three, four, five, six films technically, if you want to call Parade his last thing a film, but it was shot on video for TV.
Oh wow.
But he
Yeah.
was such a perfectionist that he only made those five films. He made other films, but burned the negative and destroyed it because he wasn't happy with it.
Wow.
But he is a master filmmaker
Hmm.
and a great actor as well. He acts in all of his films. He's the lead. He plays Mr. Hulo in all his films, kind of a Pee Wee Herman, Charlie Chaplin type of character. And it's films like that that, in box sets like this that allow you to really go in and explore a whole other world of filmmaking that you weren't privy to.
Yeah.
And Jacques Tati is so amazing. And this box set from Criterion has so many like bonus things and lectures and speeches and things. And he wasn't a very big public person.
Hmm.
So, to be able to have something like that as an archival element in your collection, I think is really, really important. And for me too, it's a connection to Bobby, who, was like my mom. And
Yeah.
so to have that connection too is really special for me. So every time I see this on my shelf, I'm like, oh wow, like that's, you
Yeah.
know,
Thank you for sharing.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank
You're
you for
one of
sharing
those.
that.
Yeah.
Like this opened my eyes to someone that I didn't know anything about. And if she hadn't have told me about it, I probably still wouldn't know who Jacques Tati was.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like I haven't watched it yet, but like Criterion Channel shared like Argentina Noir.
Argentiner?
I know it's hard to say Argentine Noir, but Argentina Noir.
Yeah.
And it's like, I bet, and those look cool. I watched the little trailer for it and it was like, that looks amazing. And same thing, I got the Scorsese Made in Italy, like, and he's going to go through all these Italian movies just like he did on the American ones on a
Yeah.
personal journey. And it's like, oh, that's going to be fun. And I'm going to be like, oh shit, like that was, it's just like this, Cinema Paradiso that I'm like, holy shit, like this was amazing.
Well,
And I
that's like the
watched,
indicator
yeah.
too with the noirs. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't know that there was a difference between Columbia Noir and Universal Noir.
Yeah, yeah,
And, Columbia is like more lower budget, you know.
yeah. Well, and then that's the other thing. Then there's the Poverty Row
Yeah.
noirs, like by all those. So it opens up this whole thing. Like I love noir, and it just makes you go. But what sucks in a way about noir is that you'll watch. Like I watched The Big Heat. I saw it. I was like, not the big, yeah, The Big Heat. Yeah, is that the one?
Hmm. What are you talking
Um,
about with Glenn
Fritz
Ford?
Lang. Yeah. And so I watch it and I go, I said, oh, that was great. Then later on, I'm looking at Criterion. I go, oh honey, let's watch this, and I go to put on. And I go, wait, I think I've seen this. Spoiler alert: there's an explosion in the driveway, and I go, oh shit, I have seen this.
Yeah.
And that's and something else that you learn is Marlon Brando's sister
Oh, that's right.
plays
Yeah.
Glenn Ford's mom,
Yeah.
wife in that, and you're like, holy shit! Like I never knew she acted.
So
Um,
you have a
and
sister.
yeah, and so it's like very cool. But so that's the thing with noirs. Sometimes you're like, have I seen this? It's a detective who's trying to investigate, or it's some guy who's done wrong, and you got to, but it's really really cool of like, yeah, I'm tempted to buy all those. But that's the thing, I'm tempted to buy so much, but when you have not as much funds, like I remember, although my wife makes good money and I work 3 days a week, and my friend, when I was like, yeah, I can't afford to do this, and she goes, who the fuck are you kidding? Like your wife makes like 165,000 a year. Like, what are you talking? And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe you're right. I'm not living paycheck to paycheck. I have, and so, and that's what else is good, where I'm ordering films and they're coming, and I'm not hearing like, hey, what'd you buy? Like, it's like,
Yeah,
okay,
I
cool.
I think you just have to be careful with that because
Yeah.
I have OCD, and so
Mhm.
there's a certain part of me that likes to organize and keep
Yeah.
things collected and in their place. But
Yeah.
I also like had parents that were, borderline hoarders to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And so I'm also very cautious. If you've ever had to clean out your parents after they pass away, their home,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
you start to like say, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing, especially not doing this.
Yeah.
So I try to like what we talked about earlier, I try to go through my collection and
Mhm.
weed out stuff that, I'm 52 years old now. How much time do I have left? Let's get rid of this. I'm not
Yeah.
watching this again. I'll give it to you. And it's not like I'm giving you junk.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just that
Yeah. I enjoyed
I'm
it.
done. I'm
I'm
done with
sending.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm done with this, and I don't ever care to see it again. And if I do, I know maybe you have it, or you're welcome to pass it on to whomever
Yeah.
you want to as well. And that's how you keep the collection in its place. Like I'm
Yeah.
lucky enough to have a spare bedroom that I have nothing going on, so
Yeah.
I can I just keep everything in this room. I don't keep any media outside of this room
Yeah.
unless I pull it to go watch it
Yeah.
out in the
And
living room.
and
And so that way my house looks like a normal house. It's not cluttered.
yeah.
And this room is basically a library, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah. And that's where it gets tricky, but not tricky, because now that if the collection gets too big for the room, you need to,
Yeah, I have to,
dwindle
it's
it
time to
down.
take some
And
action.
yeah, and same thing with me, where I have like, my wife keeps going, no more posters. And I'm like, no, no, they're like an 8 by 10. And she's like, to her, that's a poster. Like, your wall is full. I go,
Yeah.
it's not full. I still got stuff. But it's those movies, if they, I still got a lot of shelves left, but when those fill up, then I'm going to have to buy another shelf.
Right.
And you got to know where to, pull it,
Yeah.
like with my G.I. Joe figure collection. But that's what's good, to keep it in that room, and like, okay. But it's also that thing of like, I don't need this, do I need, it's like we said, like there's the main ones, like I just wrote down while we were paused: Police Story 1 and 2 and Rumble in the Bronx. I should own those, but I don't. But then on to the next question, and the final question is physical media versus digital. It's like my thing, I talked to you, I said something about the Mad Max movies, and I
hmm
forget, did you say you bought them in 4K or you haven't? Or,
No, I have Furiosa and Fury Road in
mm,
4K.
yeah,
The others I have on Blu-ray, but I have them on digital on 4K.
right, yeah,
And that's a good question too. I mean, I have a pretty big digital collection as well.
yeah,
It's a little less now than since I got back into physical, but um like we said earlier, it all depends on what you're getting with that. I think we discussed there was some movie, I can't remember which one it was, but I know I had bought it at least twice and it keeps disappearing off my
right, yeah,
Apple list. I don't know if they lose the rights and then get it back.
yeah, like,
And so that's the kind of thing, and but yeah, my digital collection is pretty vast as well. And I like digital. I'm not a person who's like oh, physical media is everything. Digital sucks. No,
Yeah.
I love digital. I travel a lot, and so when I do, I love being able to be on a plane and just pull up a movie and watch it. And what are you gonna do? Like drag in a
Yeah.
Blu-ray player on the
Yeah.
plane?
Yeah.
It has
Yeah.
its purpose and it's great. It fits our society. It is what it is. But at the same time, you can't get all of this
Yeah.
on digital. It would just be like a lot of files flying around and be a lot to deal with.
Well, it's very true because you were talking about, I think that's where we end. You were talking about stuff that you worked on for Cinema Force. Body Double, I was like, I don't own a physical copy of, but I bought it digitally on Apple for $5. It's
Hmm.
4K, but it still looks okay. It doesn't look like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
been cleared up much. But I'm like, okay, that's fine. I have that there. It was $5. I bought it. That was bare bones. But then there's something like or Assault on Precinct 13, 4K, bare bones. But then something like, Taxi Driver that I bought 4K, $5, has all the iTunes extras, has everything.
yeah,
And you're like, okay, cool. But it is also that thing of, on the side note of where you just go, well, what can we watch? The wife will go, what I finally did that I talked about already with Rob was I brought in Roadhouse on a burned DVD that I had. I brought it into the bedroom. So when the wife goes, I want to watch Roadhouse, I can just throw it on. But now it's playing on Pluto. So if she wants to, and I'm not there to, turn on the Blu-ray blade, do all that, she can just watch on Pluto. But
yeah,
that's that other thing where you go, where I'll buy something. Like I bought Panic Room was on there for $5 on Apple. So I bought it 4K, awesome. I haven't watched it since I bought it. But also that movie looked good the way it
yeah,
was. Like so but it is that thing. I have a lot of digital. I used to just do the digital. If it came with a digital code, I put the code on. Now I'm going to iTunes, like today's Tuesday. So now I'm going to go look it up. Like, what do they have? Do they have anything for sale?
yeah.
So,
And
and then,
a lot of it's convenience too. Like
yeah.
like when I go to bed, I'm probably not going to put a disc in because if I fall asleep,
Hmm.
it's just going to go to the main menu and loop some
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
monotonous menu song all night. But, I will put on like, my Apple TV and I'll go to Tubi or my own collection and find something that I want to watch until I fall asleep and then I can just turn that off. But
Yeah.
um so yeah, I mean there's reasons to do both. I mean, I don't think you should, just go crazy and there's there's things like, we've talked about before, like the French Connection, and then I heard they're
Yeah.
going to edit Crocodile Dundee,
Yeah.
when they re-release that, and so that version is gone, wiped off
Yeah.
the face of the earth. So there's that's a reason to collect physical stuff,
Yeah.
too. But I think for the vast majority of people out there, they don't care. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a thing of also finding your people and your tribe of people who you can talk movies with, where, like you said, if you're at work, you can kind of talk movies, but not much because they're younger
yeah.
people who are working with you. And it's the same thing with me where we were going to see the brother-in-law, and she's like, why don't you? I said some story about, like, is he not doing? She goes, stick with that. Why don't you talk to him about that instead of movies? And I'm like, well, sometimes I want to bring up, like, hey, have you seen this? It's really cool. So
Hmm.
I'm like, okay. So we talk about other things. And so certain people, that, okay, I can talk movies with this person. I can't talk movies with that person because they don't care. You
Yeah.
know, Other people you can
Yeah.
be like, it's like I said, watching the special features of anything on, watching that documentary on Thriller, they call her One Eye, or A Cruel Picture. You're just like, okay, nobody else would care, but it's
Yeah. Yeah.
interesting because I'm
Yeah.
doing a podcast on it and all this. So,
Oh yeah, I have tons of people I work with that are in their 20s and 30s, and I'll start speaking, and it's basically like talking to a brick wall.
yeah,
But if
yeah,
I talk
yeah,
to you about it, you get it, you understand, like you know what
yeah,
I'm talking about. But
yeah,
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 but yeah, I was gonna
exactly.
say, yeah, I guess I will bring up
Oh,
Body
yeah,
Double.
yeah,
So this is the Indicator disc. It's one of their first ones. I think it's their second release. Um,
cool. Oh,
well, I
wow.
got another plane coming over.
That's
But this
okay.
is one that I worked on. I got to
Wow.
provide the Bobby Wygant interviews for it.
Oh,
And
that's
it,
cool.
it came out quite a while ago. I'm trying to think, when was this?
Yeah,
Um,
see, that's something where what was it? Arrow came out with Body Double, and it
Yeah, this
probably
is
isn't going to be comparable with the two. They're going to be different added
yeah.
stuff, you know.
Yeah, like like their version doesn't have the Bobby stuff. It doesn't have a lot of this other De Palma conversation and like I did one on the Big Fix with
Oh, I heard that. Yeah, I saw.
yeah.
Yeah, they were talking about that in Pure Cinema one day, and I'm like, oh, I need to see that movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I think I may have the only interview with Richard Dreyfuss
Oh, wow.
about that. And then the big one that I got to work on with Rich Johnson
Yeah.
was The Great Escape. We got to do
Yeah.
a full
Oh,
30-minute documentary on this that we produced and Rich wrote and I edited and
yeah. So
worked with.
good.
Yeah, it was really a lot of fun. And so, that's another thing. Like if you are blessed to be able to work with someone like Bobby Wygant and have all these great things and meet all these great people and writers and you get opportunities to contribute to physical media, which is
Yeah.
fantastic for me. Like I never in a million years would have thought that somebody would want my opinion or stuff that I had to be on what they did. So
Yeah. It's very cool. And then there was something else I was going to say, and I forgot. But
way
yeah,
to go.
it's the same. Yeah, thanks. Um, but no, it's yeah, all that special stuff that sometimes you have to check. Sometimes physical media people do end up getting, like me. Like I said, I'm going to hold on to the Close Encounters Blu-ray and the 4K because I want to have all that. Back in the day, and I got rid of it, and I don't know why, but I did. But I had this box set of E.T. on Blu-ray. It came with a book, came with a soundtrack, came with all this stuff. And I was like, oh, wow, it's cool. And I had it up on my shelf. And then one day I go, I'm going to sell this. And I sold it. And now I go, I don't see it anywhere. I should have
Yeah.
fucking kept it.
I'm not
So,
familiar with that film. Is
oh,
it?
it's a good one. Yeah. Maybe
I'll
I'll,
check it
yeah,
out.
I'll make my own retrospective. I'll tell you all
How do you
about it.
spell it?
Yeah. E-E-E-T-E-E-E.
Got it.
E-T.
Got it
Yeah.
written down.
Yeah. It's yeah.
I like Mac and Me. Is it
Yeah.
similar to that?
There you go. Oh yeah, it is.
Okay.
No wheelchair going off the cliff, but it's pretty cool.
Oh,
All right then. I guess that's it. Um, I don't know how long we went, but there we
that's good.
go.
Yeah.
So
I only froze twice.
yeah, yeah. But hey, but we're
Well,
good.
I'm doing it off my laptop, so I
Yeah.
don't know if that was any different, but
Me too. I've never worked with my laptop, and so I'm at my friend's house watching his house, so I'm doing it that way. But should be good. So I will say goodbye, and you can say goodbye, and blah blah blah.
goodbye, everybody. Collect physical media that you care about.
Well, yes, there you go. Yeah, make your own collection to speak as you as a person.
Yes.
Yes.